Start. Good morning. Today is our Sunday's class. Let's start our Gita class with the mantras, where we are thanking Lord Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, this beautiful scripture, and the author who wrote it, Rishi Vyas. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Grathitam Puran Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritvarshine Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayani Amutvam Anusandhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshine Namo Astute Vyas Vishal Buddhe Full Arvind Ayat Patra Netar Yen Tavya Bharat Tail Purna Prajwalito ज्ञान में प्रदीप परपान पारी जाताए तोत्र वेत्र एक पानये ज्ञान मुद्राए कृष्णाए गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूर मर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगत गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्राहवती कृपेन वाहने कर्णेन वेला कुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तने सोतीर्णा खलु पांडवै रन नदी के वर्तका केशवा पाराशर्य वत्सरोजमलम गीता अर्थगंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरिकथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपदे रह पे पियमानम उदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमुल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरम यत्कृपातमहं वंदे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्ये स्तवे वेदे सांग पद क्रमोपनिषदे गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थे तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. Last time we were together, we studied or finished chapter 8, Akshar Brahma Yoga. Now we're going to start with chapter 9 today, and the title is RajVidya RajaGuhya Yoga. The yoga of royal knowledge. Raj means royal, and the royal secret, Guha. So far, Lord Krishna has been pursuing the theme of spiritual practices in all these chapters, almost like a mathematician solving a problem step by step, stage by stage, for our benefit. So this is all written and spoken for our benefit. So that means we need to practice also. We will benefit from it only if we practice it. So that's why Lord Krishna has been giving us the necessary data, rational arguments for the why and how of these Vedantic beliefs and the ways of self-perfection. Whatever is mentioned in the Vedas, he just giving it to us in the language and in the way where we can understand it. For a common man like us. So theory of self-perfection, but at the same time, the logic behind it. So it's not just a theory alone. It's a rationale behind it, so that ordinary person like us can follow it. But still, following we have to do. The practice we have to do. We saw in the second chapter, and if you remember, the title was Sankhya Yoga. Knowledge of the Atma as a separate and distinct entity from the body was mentioned. And that was called Guha. That means the secret knowledge, profound knowledge that Atma is separate from the body. Because body is made out of Prakriti and Atma is part of God. Profound knowledge. And in the 7th chapter and also in the 8th chapter, he explained his power even more secret. And the Sanskrit term for that was Guhtar. So first there's a Guh, the secret. More secret is his powers. Guhtar. And now we'll see in the 9th chapter, which we are going to start today. He will reveal us the knowledge of the pure bhakti, which is called Guhatam. So secret, more secret, and the most secret. So bhakti, he is calling it Guhatam, the most secret. At the very beginning of the topic, Lord Krishna declares the qualifications for hearing these teachings in this chapter. If we don't have the qualifications met, we won't be able to understand it. We can read it, but not really grasp it. And what is the qualification? Anusuyave. That is a Sanskrit term in the first verse. Anusuyave. That means non-envious. That means that you got to believe in God, because sometimes people argue about it. Is it really said by Lord Krishna? Is Lord Krishna really the God? So anusuyave, believing in the words, having faith in his words, not thinking that he's boasting about it. So if we are envious about it, then effect of all these teachings will not be the same as they should be. The message we will not absorb. Because what happens when we are arrogant, when we are just so proud about our own accomplishments, that is the envious. Okay, so he uses the word anusuyave. Let's look at how he is using it in this word, first verse. Idam tu te guhatamam parvakshyami anusuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yat gyatva mokshasya ashubhat. Idam, this. Tu means indeed. Te means to you. Guhatamam. See, I told you guh, guhutar, and guhutam. The greatest secret, the most secret, highest secret. Parvakshyami, I shall declare. Anusuyave, to one who does not disbelieve. Okay. So who does not bring unnecessary objections, argues too much. Anusuyave. There's an English term for this which is called cavil. So one who does not cavil. Jnanam, knowledge. Vijnana sahitam, combined with experience. Yat means which, gyatva, having known. Moksha, say, you shall be free. See, that is our goal, moksha. So he is declaring over here that you can attain the moksha with this bhakti. Ashubhat, from evil. Ashubha. To you who do not cavil. So he's talking to Arjuna, but he's talking to us also. To you who do not cavil, who do not disbelieve, I shall now declare this, the greatest secret, the most profound knowledge combined with experience, that means realization, which having known, you shall be free from the sorrows of life. And that is a moksha. Because this life, no matter how happy and wealthy or powerful we are, still it's full of sorrows. We have seen earlier, birth is painful, growth is painful, old age is painful, death is ultimately painful. It's full of sorrows. Sure, glimpses here and there of joy and happiness, but they are temporary. Temporary. So in this very opening verse, Lord Krishna promises us that he will give us discourses upon the most profound knowledge. So secret means profound. Secret does not mean that you just hold it to yourself and do not give it to anybody. It means profound, along with the realization. And Arjuna is fit for this sacred knowledge. He has mentioned many times that you are my guru, you are my teacher. Your words are nectar to my ears. So Arjuna had been found fit to share this secret knowledge because this is a new way of thinking. And Arjuna has a full faith in his teacher, in his guru. Okay? And he is anxious to evolve also. See, that is another thing we got to have. Anxious. I don't like the way I am right now. I want to raise myself to the higher realm. Just like we are anxious towards the material things. A fit student is anxious towards these higher realms. So that's why Lord Krishna says that he will declare the philosophy to Arjuna, who does not carp or cavil. And the benefit of this knowledge and its practical application has also been indicated in this verse. Having known which, you shall be free from all limitation of the finite existence. That's what it really means. Okay. So to understand ourselves and the world outside is to know the secret of keeping a healthy and happy relationship with the world outside also. Because we are living in this world, we got to have a happy and healthy relationship. But at the same time, we should not forget the ultimate goal either. And in the next verse, Lord Krishna is praising the art of self-perfection. RajVidya, RajaGuhyam, Pavitram idam uttamam, pratyaksha avgamam dharmyam, susukham kartum avyam. RajVidya, the king of sciences. RajVidya. There are so many sciences. This is the king of the sciences. RajaGuhyam, kingly secret. Pavitram, purifier. Idam, this. Uttamam, highest. Pratyaksha avgamam, realizable by direct intuitional knowledge. So in other words, directly perceptible. Pratyaksha avgamam, dharmyam, according to righteousness, the virtuous. So sukham, very easily. Kartum, to perform, practice. Avyam, imperishable. Royal science, royal secret, the supreme purifier is this. Realizable by direct intuitive knowledge. According to dharma, very easy to perform or practice, and also imperishable. Imperishable. So the term royal secret he is teaching us how to understand this royal secret. As I mentioned earlier, that means it's very profound. Secret, we got to just use the word profound for secret, because normally we think secret means, hey, I'm not going to tell anybody. Secret means profound. Okay, it's just like a secret for a little child. Law of gravity is a secret, cannot understand. But as we get older, we understand it. It's no more a secret, right? Little child, you throw a ball up, it comes down. For the little child, it's a secret. How does it come down? I threw it up. But we know why does it come down. We have found that secret, law of gravity. So similarly here, the science of self-development is too profound for the ordinary man, ordinary intellect, or sometimes they use the word for the uninitiated. And it may be considered as a secret. It is to be unraveled by all of us, that God is everywhere. So even if there be a science, royal in its import, it's very deep and it seems very supreme. But it does have a purifying effect. So that's why he said supreme purifier. And it has to be available for our comprehension. If you don't comprehend it, it's useless for us. So that's why Lord Krishna is promising that it is clearly comprehensible, because it can be apprehended directly by an immediate experience of the self. And remember the Vidya. Vidya means the RajVidya. Vidya means a science. So he is not referring to like his teachings as creed, religion, dogma, doctrine, or belief. He is calling it a Vidya, universal science. Pertaining to this science pertaining to dharma. Dharma means the law of being, that without which a thing is not a thing. Just like without heat, fire is not a fire. Just remember that. That is a dharma. So we as human beings, sure we have a body. We are parcel of minerals in their gross and subtle states. But if this Atma is not there, this conscious principle is not there, not blessing us, this awareness is not there. So this awareness is called the self. So in that sense, the dharma of a person is the principle of life in him. Dharma. So this is also called the spiritual science. So the spiritual science is neither the physical science of biology, nor the science of psychology, the emotions and thoughts, but the science of the self. That's why it's called Brahma Vidya. And over here he used the word dharam, dharmyam. Very easy to perform, he says. Because if this science is very hard to practice, what good is it? This is very easy. It's a great science. So he is initiating Arjuna and to us also in this science. Sometimes it seems very difficult to us, because in the outset we say it's not easy for me. But no, it's easy to perform. You got to believe in that. Then it becomes very natural. it has been confirmed that the technique of self-integration and ultimately gaining the complete mastery over the self, it is an art. Art to master for the sincere and the diligent. Sincere and diligent. You remember when we were studying Yog Darshan, the very first verse, Rishi Patanjali said, Ath Yoga Anushashanam. So that Anushashan has to be there in life. So he said, if a student has that kind of Anushasan, with the practice in time, what did he say? Towards the end of Yog Darshan, the last chapter, Kavalyapad, you can attain that mastery. First, we are slaves to this body and the mind. Then ultimately we become the master of this mind and the body. And that's when we become free, Kavalya. And Lord Krishna will see that 18th chapter, the last chapter, Moksha Sannyas Yoga, Moksha over there too. But we got to keep this Anushashan in our life. Okay. Another term I want to clarify here is Pavitram. Pavitram. The knowledge of devotion is untainted by petty selfishness. Okay. Something is pavitra when there's no selfishness in there. As soon as the selfishness comes, me and mine comes, pavitrata is gone. The benefits of bhakti are described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Beautiful scripture if you ever get a hand on that. Kaleshaha tu papam tad bijam avidya cha eti tatridha. Tridha means three. Bhakti destroys the three poisons. So that means there are three things which make it apavitra. First one is papa, sins. Second is the beach of the papa, seeds of the sins. And the third is the avidya, ignorance. Only when these three are completely destroyed does the heart become truly pure. Truly and permanent pure. Sins, the seeds of the sins and the ignorance. So remember, it's easy. Keep that in mind. But we have to be diligent about it. We got to take it seriously. That's why Lord Krishna is endorsing here the gain acquired through a faithful pursuit of the royal science of self-development and self-mastery. What does he say? Avyam, imperishable. We work hard for a lot of other things, but ultimately we see somebody else have more than we do. We take care of this body. It's healthy. COVID came. Everybody got affected by it. But this, what he is teaching us, is avyam, imperishable. It cannot be taken away. To realize the self is to become the self. Vedas say that. The eternal, the infinite reality behind the phenomenal world of appearance. So the practice of what he is teaching us, especially in these chapters, the middle of Bhagavad Gita, is telling us science of bhakti. But we got to have a leap of faith and the result in direct perception of the God will see. Leap of faith we need. But if we don't, in contrast to those who are seeking he is declaring the disturbed life of a sansar. Let's look at how he's explaining that in verse number 3. And he's telling us, why do people not apply themselves to learning it? It's easy, it's avyam, it's beautiful, it's profound, but still people don't practice it. Ashradhanaha purushaha dharmasya asya paramata aprapye mam nirvatante mirtyu sansar vartmani. This is verse number 3. Ashradhana, without faith. Purushaha, people. Dharmasya, of duty. Asya, of this. Paramatapa, that is for Arjun, the scorcher of the enemies. Aprapye, without attaining. Mam, me. Nirvatantehe, return. Mrityu sansar vartmane, in the path of this world of death. Persons without faith in this dharma, that means the divine self, or duty towards this divine self. O Paramatap, without attaining me, they return to the path of rebirth, which is fraught with the death. So those who live in complete disregard of the self, they must return without attaining me. That's what he's telling us. So this could be the people of extroversion. Because if we have an extroverted personality, what happens? Instead of meditating upon God and the Atma, we are meditating upon the sense objects. All our intellectual capacity is just going towards that. All our physical energy is going towards the temporary. All our emotional powers are being used just for the material things. See, the same emotional powers, emotions, if we direct towards God, will attain God. Or even the physical strength for seeking. If we are just using it just to acquire more, to possess more, to hold more, to satisfy only the physicality of this life, the path of birth, fraught with death, will attain. The more a person meditates upon the finite, will strive to gain the changeable. And more a person worships the God, the faster will reach towards God, the infinite. Finite is this, infinite is God. So the world of the name and forms is the finite. No matter how beautiful it is finite, ever changing. Every moment the objects are changing. Some objects we can see they are changing, but some we don't, but they're all changing. Change is the nature of the matter, the Prakriti. And when he talked about Mrityu Sansara, that's what he's mentioning over here, the change. Each change is a death to the previous state of existence. Even right now, as we are moving towards the next moment, the previous moment has died. Today, yesterday is dead. Okay? So this is a Mrityu Sansar. We think Mrityu is only when we die. Mrityu is happening constantly. Scientists will tell you how fast the cells are dying in the body. We have to contemplate upon that. So the term death used here by Lord Krishna in this phrase is to be understood in this meaning. Let me talk about Shraddha a little bit. That often we think Shraddha is just a blind faith. He says, a person without Shraddha for this dharma are sure to miss their way on the great pilgrimage of life. Remember, Shraddha is not just a emotionalism, but it is a solid intellectual understanding. Perfect awareness of the logic of thoughts behind the theory are needed for Shraddha. So you can remember that Shraddha is the enduring faith. That faith which lifts us to the realms beyond the reach of the mind and the intellect. Because mind and the intellect, they can take us to a certain level. Because they are made up of a prakriti. Always remember that. They are subtle, but they are subtle part of the prakriti. So we need to have a faith. Faith will help us to carve out the finite and reach the infinite. It's that kind of a strength. Shraddha. Shraddhavan labhate jnana. Jnana over here means knowledge about God. No matter how wonderful the knowledge and how effective the path, it remains useless to a person who refuses to walk on it. So in order to walk on this path, we need the Shraddha. Adau Shraddha tatha sadhu sangha tatha bhajan kriya. So that means the first step in the path of God realization is to have faith. That is the very first step. Then participating in satsang, having the company of the Satpal Purusha. That is a satsang. Sang means the company, Sat means the truth. Company of a Satpurusha. This leads to the personal practice of devotion, bhajan kriya. Adau Shraddha, tatha sadhu sangha, tatha bhajan kriya. So remember the definition of the dharma, the Shraddha. Because these terms will come again and again in Bhagavad Gita. Even the Bible says that we walk by faith and not by sight. Okay? Sight really means over here with the help of the body and the senses. Faith is more important. Sometimes we say, no, I don't believe unless I see it. Don't we believe in so many things in the world without direct perception first? How does a judge delivers upon a case concerning an event that took place long time ago? He was not there. He didn't see it. He just believed in the people who were telling him with the support of the arguments. The same way the president of any country administers a country on the basis of the reports from all over the country. Okay, so faith is never a blind. It's a power. It's a necessity. And that's what he's telling us. He says, if they say, Ashraddha, if you don't have a faith in what I'm telling you, you'll just keep coming back here again and again into the finite. And again, the choice is ours. Let's look at next verse, verse number 4. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakt murtinah mat sathani sarvabhutani na cha aham teshu avastitah. Maya, by me, tatam, pervaded, idam, this, sarvam, all, jagat, world, avyakt, unmanifested, murtina, form. Mat sathani exists in me. Sarvabhutani, all beings. Na means not, cha means and, aham, I, teshu, in them, avasthitaha, abiding or placed. All this world, that means the whole universe, not just the planet Earth, the whole universe, the world. All this world is pervaded by me. In my unmanifest form. So that means unmanifest aspect. All beings exist in me, but I do not dwell in them. We saw in the previous chapter, it was indicated that imperishable self is the supreme unmanifest, Akshar Brahma, that forms the essential substratum for the manifested world. This eternal unmanifest self is now described in these verses. Eternal unmanifest self. All this world is pervaded by me in my unmanifest form. And we all know manifest means something which we can perceive. Unmanifest, we really cannot perceive with these eyes. We cannot hear it with these ears. Unmanifest. The Vedic philosophy does not accept the concept of creation or creating the world by the God and going into the seventh heaven and checking it out and peeping from there what he has created. They repeatedly propound the theme of God being all pervading in the world. So he created it and he is here also. Eko deva sarvabhuteshu guda sarvavyapi. This is from a Shvetashvar Upanishad. There is one God. He is seated in everyone's heart. He is also everywhere in the world. We studied Ishavasyam Upanishad a few months ago. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kinch jagat yam jagat. God is everywhere in the world. And that's what Lord Krishna is saying. That all this world, universe is pervaded by me, and in my unmanifest form, all beings exist in me. There is no place where God is not. All forms. And forms are perishable. They are called dravya. So the self in its essential unmanifest nature must be pervading everything. Just like a mud pervades in all the parts made out of mud. Gold pervades in all the ornaments made out of gold. It could be a form of a bangle or a form of a necklace. It's a gold. The same way, whether it's a tree or whether it's a human being, God is there. The infinite pervades the fine object. The relationship between them is beautiful. It's a relationless relationship. Because he says, all beings exist in me, but I do not dwell in them. Another way you can understand, ocean exists in all the foam and the froth and the waves. Right? But ocean is ocean without even waves and the froth and the foam. That is called a relationless relationship. If there is a rope and we thought it was a snake, snake existed in the rope when we looked at it. Relationless relationship. Just remember that. Because sometimes we get confused with it. God says, I'm everywhere. And then he says, you are not in me. That which is self-existent, complete, and full in itself does not need any support. So the manifest needs the support of unmanifest. Unmanifest does not need the support of the manifest. The whole universe has arisen from the unmanifested power of the Lord. All beings rely on that one power, but that power does not rely on any being. It is independent in and of itself. We need God. It nourishes, protects all beings. Yet it's not bound up in them. Atma is the very cause and source of the activities of all beings. See, there are so many different philosophies. This is a Vedic philosophy. There's a philosophy which is called a Parinamavad. See, Gita talks about the Vedic philosophy. Parinamavad states that God has transformed into the world. Parinamavad. Just like yogurt is a parinam. Parinam means effect. Yogurt is an effect of milk when it's transformed. That's a parinamavad. Okay. And there are other philosophies also in the world, which there's another one which says Vivarat philosophy. To mistake one object for another. Just like I was telling you, to be mistaken that it's a snake, but it's a rope. Okay. So, but Lord Krishna is talking about the Vedic philosophy. So according to these verses, world is created from the material energy of God, called Maya Shakti. See, that's why he used the word over here. Okay, he will use it in the next verse actually, the Yog Ashwaryam. So we don't have time to go through that today, but next week we'll do, where he says, Nacha Matsatani Bhutani, Pashye me Yogam Ashwaram. Okay, so that's a Yog Maya, Maya Shakti. See, we have the energy of God in us. That is the Atma. That is also called a Jiva Shakti. The world and all the souls in it are both God's energy and are within his personality. Okay, so we'll start with this. Just try to understand these first 4 verses, and we'll start our next week class with the 5, because it's a continuation. 4 to 5, they are connected. So that way we can, if you study a little bit more deeply, contemplate on it, then you'll be able to grasp this idea. Otherwise, a lot of people get clearly confused in these 2 verses. I see that. Okay, so let's stop the class here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.